All right, so here's the British pound. So what happened is I have this 20 pip grid here, and last night the rally. Let me go to the 1 hour chart. So there was a trend line here, and we were forming this triangle here last night. So we kind of popped up above it and broke through, and eventually found support. So that break of that triangle there, if you draw this really sharp on these two tops, you can see it broke out here. And that's another reason why trend line break here, it's too late if you're trading the break out of a trend line. So I'm selling it as it goes up here, and these orders last about an hour to 4 hours, and it's just a big bank of orders. I don't really care what I get filled. But so as far as the market maker moves, where they come back and they have to smash everybody out of this before it goes up, that happened here. So if you go to the 15-minute, you can see this huge, in other words, last night I went into this situation here where I was long, and I'm also looking for this breakout here. So I'm long, and if you just forget the wicks, I'm just going to put the break. I'm just going to put the support and resistance on these swing highs on the 15-minute. So if you look at this, finally breaks out, but wouldn't you know it, they went up here as usual, and the people are all bullish. They're like, wow, let's go on the moon. Well, this is a 10 pip trap. Then it comes down and it traps anybody that has a stop here. So this is why you want to get in where people's stops are. And you could have got out here, right? So there was news coming out of Britain right at this point, right? So this is the pre-news sell-off. Then we come to here. The news comes out, and then it takes out this. And they trapped that for a little bit and pulled it back, but it's really off to the races now. Now it's coming up on these highs from way back. If you go back to the 4-hour chart, where this is the trap zone now. So I'm selling up into this, all the way up into this bottom. So these are all sells if they get filled. So this is as opposed to trading one position, which these guys are still doing. They're doing videos on it, and they're selling courses, and they're putting on one trade. So I'm watching this Akel Stokes guy this morning cracking me up with this 200 pip stop on the Canadian dollar. Really? Okay, this is 100 pips here on the pound, right? So the Canadian dollar, he can't find a better trade. You can't find a better trade than a 200 pip stop. What that says to me is that you're afraid of getting stopped out. You know, it's such a good trade, and the risk-to-reward ratio is so good, right? He thinks the Canadian's still going up. It may go up about 100 pips. It's actually in a 100 pip range, but this is about the pound. I'll do that later. This Canadian dollar trade, wow. So this could spike up here into this bottom, then it pulls back. That's the whole trade. Look at this 4-hour stop hunt. And I just say stop hunt in the sense that people put stops in here. They put stops in here. And look at that trap. Look at that. So this trend line broke. And where did this pull back to? It pulled back to here. And if you look at the half-hour or the 1-hour pullbacks, which you can now see, where did this thing pull back to before it went smashing north? It pulled back to the round number, which is also this pivot here. This internal top, which cues to this top, which cues to this bottom, which is a double bottom. That's a double bottom. It doesn't have to be way outside in new territory like a double top like this. No, this is a double bottom here too. Here's a double bottom, right? Takes that out, shears north, uncharted water. We're selling up into this thing for a pullback of X. And for the accounts that are still long, you're maybe going to put your stop here trailing here. But you got to figure, at some point the party's going to be over here. So another 20 pips and you're going to be back at another round number. What's the chance sellers are going to come in at that round number? Well, pretty good. Pretty good, at least up just above it. So it's just momentum, and how fast can it get there? Look at this thing screaming. This is up 80 pips now from this entry down here. That's a good trade. That's a lot more pips than... Now, another thing is you see people with these outlandish, like, you just, after a while, you can't believe it, right? People say stuff like, well, I'm going to sell here, and it's going to come back here, and this is my target. And that might happen, but wow. Maybe it only comes back to this doji. You take your 20 pips and run, and maybe it stalls out. Maybe it finally comes back to this top, which is amazingly this top. But who wants to wait that long to get paid? It's crazy, man. This is crazy talk. So let me go to the real-time chart here. So every time I write on this, it actually freezes the data, stops charting. Okay, so the other broker, which is this a little less aggressive, these cells are way out in Disneyland. So also what I do is when this thing comes up here, I've actually underwater on these two cells here. When this thing comes up and pokes and retraces, I take something off because I'm always going to be put in another order out in front of this thing. So if it comes up here and it goes up, these are 20 pip, these big black numbers here are 20 pips apart, and if it goes up there and comes back 10, I'm taking it, right? I'm constantly taking something out of the market. Sure, it may go up and may come flying all the way back, but seriously, if time is money, then why would you want to sit there and wait to get paid? I guess this is when people say stuff like, well, you have to be a disciplined trader and wait for... Yeah, okay. But hell, let's scalp this thing. Come on, let's make some money. What the hell are you waiting for? Sure, if you bought on this pullback here and you're up 20 pips, you take your 20 pips and run. They may come back and retest this thing. So I would buy this also if it plunges. So I don't have any bias here. Right now I'm in between orders. These orders should disappear in about 2 hours. So I might have to pluck those out. The other thing is that if you go to the internet, there's a bunch of scripts here that these are all free. And I'm missing the one I need, but it's called Close Order. It's on this other broker. I accidentally deleted that one. And they redid MetaTrader, so the font's bigger now. That was the latest version of MetaTrader. They totally changed the font size. They just can't stop messing with programs. Just leave it alone, people. It's fine. It's fine on the first version of MetaTrader. MetaTrader 5 is useless for scripts. Okay, so here's a close order. So this is just going to pluck off, say, a single ticket. If you had a buy limit down here, and you just pluck these off. Wherever you drop it near that order, it's going to get in. So here I would just say, well, let's buy this thing on the pullbacks. And this is all pre-programmed, this one. But the other one, I've got the, I can see, I just know what's inside these guys. And this is a half hour and this is a 1 hour. So if this thing comes flying back, and the ones that I'm slightly down on, this is just why I wouldn't trade one position, because when I first started trading, I traded without stops about 7 years ago. And I was swing trading it, and it didn't matter because I only had $200 in the account. I just thought, well, $200, that's my stop, the whole account. So I just swung trade it, and I would just, a British pound, for instance, on this British pound trade, I've seen this a million times, British pound just keeps going down, 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 down. So I bought. And I bought all the way to here, right, without blowing up the account. And then I just held it. And even the ones that I bought up here without a stop, they became winners eventually. Of course, 2 weeks later, right? That's why in this whole thing, it just kills me. And the harmonic patterns, right? I'm going to do a video on that later. It's just too funny. Cracks me up. There's these guys out there called the iLive thing, and you sign up for $200 flat fee, and you get these. They're all single position traders. The whole key to this game is scaling in and out. You can't just go out with one bullet and you're gone. It's not the OK Corral, right? You're just not going to do that. See, now look at, they come up here and they trap anybody that's trying to, well, it's breaking out. See, they just trap that, pull it back now. So I'll buy it if it plunges again. So in 1 hour, if I can come back here to the starting gate, I'm going to buy for another up and down. So all the pips are made in this range trading. 80% of the market's range trading. 20% trend trading. So all the trend traders, and I get the trend traders. I mean, this is conventional wisdom applied to the market. You get married to somebody and you marry them till they're dead, right? This is the marriage agreement. You've heard this, till death do us part. And that must be the mindset. I'm going to find a good trend, get on and ride it. I'm an investor. No, it's just trade it. It goes up, it goes down, it goes back, it goes forth. And just, if you're not, like, instead of getting one of these stupid prescription services and one of these, buying getting to a live room. No, you're going to have to just take $50 a week and keep putting it in a micro account and just keep churning that account until you get to the point where you're just like, okay, apparently for me, 20 pips is plenty of money. I don't need to sit here all day. I'm not trying to make 300 pips with a 150 pip stop, which is double your money, but you really want to be taking the heat on a 150 pip stop when how much time does it take to look at the 1 hour chart and realize a 150 pip stop is totally unnecessary? Almost on any currency pair on the 1 hour chart, this is 20 pip grid. This is 20 pips between each black line. Do you really think you have to expose yourself to that? It's ridiculous. And here you can even do your, if you're going to do one of these, here's your target, right? You're hitting your target. People are selling here. They're taking their profits. Or if they're channel trading this thing, they're thinking, oh, you know what? Good place to scalp. It's always a good place to scalp. It's never a good place to think super long term. Now this thing, this complete smash down here, unless you got a trade plan for that and you're willing to get in here at this failed support, like you think the buyers are going to come at this support thing. Well, they don't. Wow. And they don't come in here at the apex of this triangle either. Wow. Forget about it, right? This complete obliteration of this thing. And it comes underwater, but amazingly it's the pivot. Okay, it looks like we're going to go up again. So whatever I'm in, I'm going to take off profits on anything. And then whatever, just let them stop me out. It's such a small amount of money. I don't understand why. What's with this exposure? It must be a guy thing. Like I'm just gonna so attack these markets. And but yeah, British pound. Look at it. Look at this 4 hour. And if I hear the word structure one more time, of course, they're applying this now to the latest craze because I watch the YouTube Forex all the time, always learning what not to do, constantly looking back on all the psychosis and all the stuff people used to think, and who couldn't see this thing? It's going to try to fill this void here, but how far are they going to take this north? And there'll be news on tomorrow morning, and today maybe there's news and stuff. Now it's almost 6:30 in the morning, so this is always a big kind of reshuffling the deck time. Right at the bottom of the hour here, you'll see insane moves and reversals. So I'm expecting this thing to go up here. Another 20 pips, right? So I'll give it an hour to go 20 pips, and I'll give it 4 hours to go 40 pips. I don't think I have any higher. Here's a 50 pip sell. Now these were things that were just real narrow slots. Instead of canvassing a whole area with sells, what I did is I just put now this is so far out, dude. I mean, come on. This is 60 pips all day, all up in here. You go to work. You go to your day job. If this thing, if you're wrong on this, now you just pretty much, you spread out all your orders and canvass the whole area. This is how you sell door to door, right? You don't go, What I don't understand is why is people think that Forex is any different than any other business. If you're a door-to-door salesman, everybody knows that you're going to have 20 doors closed in your face, and then the 21st door, somebody's going to buy it. So why would you just go to one house and then go home? Oh, gee, I didn't sell anything today, honey. I'm going to have to sell the car again. Why aren't you canvassing the area? This is what they do when they do telephone calls. They just keep calling and calling all this usual suspects, people that maybe, they're on the list, right? And they just keep calling till they get a hit. This thing with the, you could put exacting orders in here, but make them small. Another thing is you put exacting orders in here, you may not get filled. Just watching this Jason Stapleton Hollywood trader, 2 of his trades, he never got a fill on one trade because he just had this order in there, right? He's like, oh, this is going to, yeah, okay, no fill. Well, you're not going to lose money on that. Then the other one he did was the Canadian dollar. I'll say, yeah, no, you're up about 100 pips. Get the hell out, right? You're not going to, it's not going up 400 pips now. I'm sorry, the Canadian dollar is not going to go up 800 pips and retest the highs. It's over. Okay, the whole thing's over. You look at the monthly. You're kidding, right? Where have you seen markets do those moves? You don't have to. In this back testing, it's pointless. It's all psychological. Like if you're in too big and you need to wear diapers while you're trading, then okay, you got to just take the size down and give these markets some room to really move. They're going to go up and down, and that's all there is to it. So I'm going to be selling this as it comes up here. Now, I wish this would have happened yesterday. Of course, being impatient doesn't help either, which I could see this was going to happen. We're going to come down, we're going to go up. I wish it would just all happen in an instant, right? So you could just bank it. But this whole triangle here, this thing took forever to get started before we could finally break above this price. And if you go to the daily, see the pullback here to this doji before that launch. You just don't need too much thinking on that, do you? Where's the resistance? Could it be up here? I think so. Okay, so I'm looking to slam up that and then come off of that, and that's the trade. Jeez, people. So here, 40 pips, way up here where it could probably go, because it always overshoots the runway. People think, oh, this is the top. Oh, no. No. They're not done. In fact, this British pound is so pissed off from all the punishment. Look where it's at on the weekly. It could come all the way back up into this bottom, which is the target for the swing traders. People that have been able to sit in this thing for what? 2 weeks? That's where they're going to get out. And they're going to make about, 400 pips, 500 pips on that trade. But I'm pretty much a scalper because I want to take the money and run. I don't want to sit around here and, get married to this trade. So that's why I took off that profit, because I had, when this thing, every time it pokes into my order banks and pulls back, it takes something off. Now, a lot of people got back on this 15-minute pullback. Okay, so that's got to come up into this. Now, if I think I'm too heavy on these sell limits, I might trim a few off, and then we just take this close order thing and just skim that off a little bit. I don't want to get in too heavy. And if I did that, every time I do that, I typically put in more orders above for the, because now I can put more orders above, because I'm not going to get in here. I can get in higher. I get all up in here. So waiting for that thing to go up and tag and bag this stuff. But yeah, I mean, this is how these markets roll, up and down, and it doesn't, you don't have to pick. Now see that I'm getting filled a little bit here. So if it pulls away from that back to this, I'll cash out, and then I'll put sells in again constantly. And I'm underwater on these two guys. I don't know where the stops are on these. Apparently they're pretty wide. But see, if it comes back to here, These ones that I'm underwater on, I'll get out of that. If it comes all the way flying back, that's fine. I'll buy it if it goes down. So it's a buy low, sell high game. It always has been. You can't, you ask anybody if they ever sold high and bought it back higher and made money. No, absolutely not. So here's the half hour and there's the 1 hour. So ideally it comes flying all the way back. These sells make money, comes back into here, then it goes up, then it goes down. So I have no bias. I can see the picture though. I can see where the holes need to be filled. Like what's the hole to fill? So this, in this instance here, when this was crushing down, I was putting in buy stops this morning. When they trapped these guys underneath this, buy stops, plus there were buy limits. I had a whole trail of buy limits, but you got to trade kind of deep on this pair. You got to trade with the 50 pip deep, 80 pip deep limits, and just go to sleep, wake up. If they didn't fill you, right, but they do fill you. This is the same pattern that happened the other day. So if you go to the 1 hour, look at the same behavior. In other words, well, it's not as big a sell-off, but look at this huge sell-off and retrace all the way back. That's a complete... The market ends up going nowhere after that huge move, right? It went all the way down, all the way back up. Ends at the same place. So you really want to be buying for the retrace that. So this sell-off wasn't that dramatic, only a few pips. But the same idea, where we got to go down before we go up. We got to go up before we go down. And anyways, that's the British pound today. And then Wednesdays, typically, you do get a new high. So either a new high or new low, swing high or swing low on a Wednesday. It's the middle of the week. If you look back for the Wednesdays on here, now this is Friday. You did get a new swing low. But so this was, I guess, Wednesday here. But you do see them take it right to the edge and back down. But Wednesday's the middle of the week, and tomorrow the the swaps kick in tonight, so people that are just sitting in these positions hedged, making interest from the money, is different. So you'll see some of the behaviors based on the fact that the swaps kick in tomorrow.